Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano. It is Friday, July 19th. Ian Cameron with you. We are back in action today with Major League Baseball returning from the All-Star break. Good to have it back. It has been a light week, but I enjoyed the light week, quite honestly. Got to do a lot more football work preparing for the season. Looking forward to that. We will break down the MLB card in moments. Connor Mack will be along as well at some point. He's coming back from a store run. So he'll be joining me in a little bit. Before we get into the MLB card, let's remind everybody about the great discount subscription offers available for signing up with Ian Cameron. Now that MLB is back, it'll be MLB Daily. CFL Week 7 kicks off tonight. You got MLB, CFL, some UFC as well for the next few weeks. NFL preseason is just a couple weeks away. Hard to believe. I'll be involved with that. College football starts in a month. NFL regular season not long after that. That is why I'm offering the 6 months all sports discount for Dub Club. $400 down to $250 US. You'll get all sports now through January. That will include the entire NFL regular season and college football season. It will also include that on August 1st, I submit and release my NFL and college football season win totals and futures betting report. That will be posted on August 1st. That will be included as well. So, again, 6 months all sports, $250 for 6 months, all the way through to January, the entire NFL regular season and college football season. Make sure you sign up, get involved with that. Also, my birthday promo codes, my birthday discount offers for my birthday week, if you will. I turned 39 on Sunday last weekend. So until this Sunday coming up, you can get $39 off 1 month all sports at Dub Club, $75 down to $36 for 1 month. 3 months all sports, $200 discounted to $161. Again, $39 off. And 1 year all sports, $750 discounted to $711. So those discount offers are available through to the end of the weekend. Dub Club, all those subscriptions I mentioned, they are my full card. You know, I'm a high volume bettor. It is my full card in all sports every day. But if you want something that is isolated to just my top plays, best bets in all sports, you can now subscribe and sign up for that at SoBet. Using that link you see there, $9.95 per month subscription for my short card, if you will. Top plays, best bets only in all sports at SoBet. And with that subscription for $9.95 a month, you'll also get access to all the other influencers, content providers, and handicappers that post plays on the SoBet platform. So again, you can sign up for that as well. And all the links for those subscription offers are posted in the comments section below this video and this show. So make sure you check all of that out. All right, let's get into MLB. Here we go for this Friday. Following the All-Star break, we will begin with the Battle of Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. Aaron Nola for the Phillies, Martin Perez, the lefty, for the Pirates. We've got Philadelphia minus 170 road favorites. The total sitting at 7.5, 8 right now in this matchup. I like Philadelphia. The money has gone toward them. I definitely think they've got the better arm, going into this matchup. Martin Perez was not pitching well going into the All-Star break. Philadelphia has taken money. I agree. I would probably look at a -0.5 in the first 5 innings at this point with the Phillies. Get it down to around -115 on that. And instead of the money line, which is now up to -165, you can split it up, first 5 run line with full game run line. And the full game run line is -1, around -128 for that at Pinnacle. I prefer going at that route with this. Definitely an advantage here for the Philadelphia Phillies on the mound with Nola, who has given up 3 runs or less in 5 straight starts. Phillies are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. And like I said with Perez, 2 of his last 3 starts have not been good. He got crushed by Milwaukee before the break, 5 runs, 9 hits, 4.2 innings. Crushed by Atlanta, 6 runs, 8 hits, 4 innings. Pirates are 0-4 in Martin Perez last 4 starts. That's also not what you want to see. And then you have a Phillies team that has been pretty damn good against lefties most of the season. Last 10 games, they're hitting .271 as a team as far as their batting average against left-handed pitching. So I think it all adds up to a Phillies victory here in this one tonight. Next up, we've got the Reds and the Marlins. Frankie Montas for the Cincinnati Reds and Patrick Corbin for the Washington Nationals. It is Cincinnati, rather, minus 130 road favorites, 9.5 the total here in this game. I like Cincy as a road favorite. I prefer Montas over Corbin. Montas did struggle against Colorado before the break, but his 4 starts before that were pretty consistent, pretty solid. 3 runs or fewer before that. I just don't like Patrick Corbin all that much. His numbers aren't that good. He has a 5.57 ERA on the entire season, a 6.19 ERA the last 3 starts for him going into the break. So did not pitch well. That's definitely not what you want to see. You look at this Reds team. I think they should be able to do some damage here against him going into this matchup. I also like the over here, but the over has the total has moved. This opened as low as 8.5, went up to 9, and now all the 9s have disappeared, up to 9.5 now with this total in most books. But I agree with the move. I think we're going to see some runs here tonight. It's sometimes a little bit dicey to bet overs the first night after the All-Star break because hitters aren't in rhythm. They've been sitting around. They've been not doing anything for a few days. Sometimes that can throw the timing off a little bit. So even for an over better like myself, when it comes to totals, sometimes I try to scale back a little bit when it comes to overs coming out of the All-Star break because of that fear that maybe just the hitters aren't in their usual daily rhythm. But I do think we still see this game be high scoring and go over the total. It's going to be a hitter's weather here tonight in Washington as well. So I like Reds Nats over. And from a side perspective, I also like Cincinnati. Cincinnati, by the way, does have a bullpen advantage in this game as well. Their bullpen on the season, 3.45 ERA. Washington's bullpen, 4.51. And it's definitely an advantage as far as the relief corps for the Cincinnati Reds here as well in this game tonight. All right, we move along. We've got the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the New York Yankees. It's Zach Eflin for the Rays, Garrett Cole for the Yanks. New York minus 170, home favorites in this one. The total 8, 7.5, depending on which book you look at here for this game. Obviously, the Yankees with Garrett Cole on the mound, as you often are, you're paying a price, you're paying a premium. There's no question about that. If anyone but Garrett Cole's on the mound, they're not laying this kind of price. So for that reason, because I do think, whenever Cole's on the mound, they're a little bit overvalued. Now, I will say this, since he's been back in the rotation for this Yankees team, they have won 3 starts in a row with him on the mound, Garrett Cole starting. And he's bounced back from a couple of rougher starts he had initially, pitched a lot better, shut down Baltimore, shut down Toronto. He did struggle a bit with Boston, but the good news is in that game, they gave him plenty of run support and ended up winning 14-4. But that being said, there's a big price for this Yankees team, which, okay, they did win 2 of 3 at Baltimore right before the All-Star break. That was a good showing for them. They almost got the sweep, but still overall, you're talking about a team that's kind of been limping here the last month or so, laying a pretty significant price. Now, I've always said about Zach Eflin, I don't love him on the road, and he's had some issues, and there's no denying that as well this year. More of the same, where his numbers at the Trop are excellent, and he has a 5.37 ERA on the road going into this game here tonight. But, I do think Garrett Cole is just a little bit, what's the word for it? He's just a little overvalued here in this spot as far as I'm concerned. The Yankee team overall, because of him starting on the mound tonight, is a little bit overvalued. So, I don't mind taking a shot here with Tampa Bay as a dog. And it is worth noting, despite the Eflin road struggles and that road ERA sitting above 5, it's worth noting with Zach Eflin, his track record against the Yankees, he's pitched this team very well. He's faced them 3 times last year in August, 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. He's faced them twice this year. He shut them out in 6 innings back in April here at Yankee Stadium, a 2-0 Rays victory. And then, of course, at Tropicana Field back in July, 1 earned run, actually, in 7 innings of that start against the Yankees. So he's actually had a good track record, Zach Eflin, against the New York Yankees. I think they're worth a shot here at the dog price. Tampa Bay, you can get them as high as plus 150, plus 155 even in some spots in this game. I think they're worth a shot at that price, at that number. A little overvalued here, the Yankees. And again, Eflin does have a solid track record against the New York Yankees. All right, next up, it is the Detroit Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays. Jack Flaherty for the Tigers, Chris Bassett for the Jays. Toronto minus 130, minus 135 home favorites. 7.5 the total here in this game. The money's coming in on Toronto, but it ain't my money. In fact, I'd look the other way. I'm a little perplexed by this move. The Jays are not a team I'm interested in laying a price with as a favorite. Obviously, they've had a dismal season. There's no question. It's not like the Tigers are great, with their record coming into this at 47-50. But I just think with the Tigers, we've seen a little better play from them. I thought the Dodgers series right before the All-Star break, they played that team very well, very tough. They took 3 of 4 from a very good Cleveland team. They beat Cincinnati 3 in a row. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games. Like I said, they took 3 of 4 from a very good Cleveland Guardians team. They took 2 of 3 from a very good LA Dodgers team prior to the All-Star break. Now you've got them as an underdog here with a guy in Jack Flaherty that's been tremendous for them. What a terrific season he's had. He's given up 1 run or less in 4 of his last 5 starts for the Detroit Tigers. He's been great, 3.13 ERA this season, an even better ERA on the road, 2.81. So I think he can pitch well here against this Blue Jays team. He's faced them 3 times. He's given up just a grand total of 4 runs in 16 innings against the Blue Jays in his career. So I think he can pitch well here. Bassett's not bad. Bassett's a capable pitcher. It's not like he's been terrible. He's had only 1 start in his last 5 where he's given up more than 3 runs. Very capable, but the way I see it is Detroit, to me, I trust their form and their lineup a little bit more than Toronto's. I certainly think Flaherty can pitch Chris Bassett to a standstill, if not pitch better than him. And you don't have to tell me twice who the hell's got the better bullpen. And it ain't Toronto. Toronto has one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. If this game is close, it should be a little advantage for Detroit. So I like the Tigers here as an underdog. I'm a little surprised there's so much respect here for Toronto. And I don't think they've done much to warrant that respect, if you will. So I like Detroit here at around plus 115 in that range as a road underdog in this game. All right, we move along here. Mets and Marlins in the NL East. It looks like we've got Sean Manaea, the lefty for the Mets, Edward Cabrera on the mound for the Miami Marlins. The Mets minus 125, road favorites, 8 the total in this game. So this is a bet that I placed quite a bit going into the All-Star break with the New York Mets, and that's their team total over. This was one of the hottest hitting teams in the majors going into the All-Star break. Just look at the results. 7, 6, 7, 7, 7, 5. Those were the runs scored by this New York Mets team in their last 6 games going into the break. I do legitimately worry about the All-Star break disrupting that momentum, disrupting that rhythm for an offense and a lineup that had really been hitting well going into that break. That's my biggest worry going back to the well here. But I am going to go back to the well with Mets team total over 4.5. You can get it at plus money. I would lean over 8 as well, the full game total. Edward Cabrera got just absolutely crushed in his final start before the All-Star break at Cincinnati. 7 runs in 3.1 innings in that start. Before that, his start against Chicago wasn't very good, and that's the White Sox. One of the worst teams, one of the worst offensive teams in almost every category in Major League Baseball this season. And Edward Cabrera against that weak-hitting White Sox team, he gave up 2 runs, 4 hits, and only lasted 3.2 innings, and he really labored in that game. Not to mention, you go back to April 27th of this season, 5 starts that Cabrera's made, all 5 starts have gone over the total. And if you look at what the other team has scored in those 5 Cabrera starts, Washington scored 11, Dodgers scored 8, White Sox scored 4, Colorado scored 4, and Cincinnati scored 10. Now, you're going to need 5 runs out of the Mets here, but I think they can do it. This is a team that scored at least 5 runs in 6 straight games going into the All-Star break. I am concerned that maybe the hitters' rhythm gets disrupted a little bit. But it's not like they're facing a dominant pitcher here. And we know the Marlins bullpen as well is not a area of strength for them by any stretch of the imagination. On the flip side, you've got Manaea on the mound here for the Mets. We'll see how he fares in this one. But one thing we do know about this Marlins team, this is an offense that can be very, very sketchy. The Mets should get the job done, but rather than lay the minus 125, I find the Mets, if they're going to win this game, why lay the money line price? Just take the team total, because I think more often than not, if they're going to win games, it's going to be because they score runs, and I think they can get to 5 in this game. So the team total for the Mets over I like, and I think the full game over with this Mets-Marlins game also worth a look. All right, let's move along. Interleague action for our next game, San Diego and Cleveland. We've got Matt Waldron for the Padres, Tanner Bybee for the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland minus 160, home favorites, 7.5 the total. I've had a pretty decent-sized opinion on pretty much every game so far. This one I don't. This one's probably going to be a stay off for me. Cleveland's certainly now too big of a favorite to take them now. And look, Cleveland didn't play great going into the All-Star break. They were just 2-5 in their last 7 games. So they kind of scuffled a bit, the Guardians. We're waiting for the Guardians to really hit a rough patch. They have really avoided an extended losing streak pretty much in the entire season. They have not had one of these extended skids, where they really start to fall off a little bit. We haven't seen it. Is it going to finally happen here? Because they did show signs of it going into the break. Bybee, going into the break, he was 0-2 in his last 2 starts. He gave up 4 runs in both of them. In fact, he's given up 8 runs, 11 hits in his last 11.2 innings against the Giants and Tigers. So not the greatest performances from him. He's a pitcher I like, but didn't have great form in either of those last 2 starts before the break. Meanwhile, you've got Matt Waldron on the mound, who is a knuckleball pitcher, or sidewinder, I should say. He is someone that, at home struggled early in the years. Road ERA is actually better than his home ERA, 3.13 ERA for Matt Waldron going into this start. I'm now getting tempted to take San Diego. Now that you're getting this kind of a price here on the Padres. They didn't play good, unfortunately, either going into the break. They lost 2 of 3 against Atlanta, swept by Seattle, lose 2 of 3 against Arizona. So their form going into the All-Star break was not the best either. We'll see if they can bounce back from that here in this matchup tonight against Cleveland. But I have not bet this game. I don't think I will. But now that we're talking about a Cleveland side that opened minus 125 and is now all of a sudden minus 160. I do think San Diego might be worth a look now. Plus 140, with Bybee and the Guardians team, kind of scuffling going into the break, kind of interests me a little bit. So not just a lean for now, San Diego, but I do think there's value now starting to appear with the Padres in this matchup. All right, next up, St. Louis, Atlanta. Sunny. Yesterday, my life was filled with rain. Sonny Gray for the St. Louis Cardinals. Spencer Schwellenbach for the Atlanta Braves. We've got Atlanta minus 120 home favorites, 7.5 the total in this game. Sonny Gray for the Cardinals, certainly a season that has been really solid for him overall. There's no denying that. But is the worm starting to turn a little bit for Sonny Gray? Because he did not pitch well going into the break. The last 3 starts were all pretty dismal. 6 runs, 7 hits, 4.1 innings against the Reds. 5 runs, 8 hits, 5 innings against Washington. Pitched better against the Cubs, but he still gave up 9 hits in 7 innings. Only 3 runs, so he minimized the damage. But to be honest with you, he got out of a lot of jams, a lot of trouble in those games. He's definitely regressing a little bit, and maybe that continues here tonight for Sonny Gray. By the way, his road ERA as well. 5.09 road ERA, a huge night home road split and home road dichotomy for Sonny Gray, where he has a 2.14 ERA at Busch Stadium, a 5 ERA on the road. So that definitely does concern me. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, you've got Schwellenbach, the youngster on the mound. His numbers aren't great. He hasn't been phenomenal by any stretch. 4.5 ERA here for Schwellenbach. I think it's 7.5. I'm tempted over the total in this game. My one fear is, again, with this and many of the overs tonight in Major League Baseball, is the break, the layoff, meaning that the hitters aren't in rhythm, maybe a little rusty. Not only that, but these are also 2 offenses that aren't exactly consistently hitting the ball going into the break. I mean, for Atlanta, it's been very strange. They've had games where they've scored 5, they've scored 6, and then there's been games they've been completely shut out. So which Atlanta Braves, lineup is it going to be here tonight? But at 7.5, I think I'd be willing to take a shot going over the total. It's low enough. It's 7.5. We only need 8 runs. Gray is not pitching as well. Schwellenbach's numbers are okay, but they're not great. I could see maybe us getting 8 runs here to get over the total. So that's probably the way I would go. I would honestly take Atlanta now at -120 with Schwellenbach. Gray is not someone I want to back, especially at this price. I mean, this has been a huge, huge price move to St. Louis. If you got it early, great. But I think at the current price, Atlanta does have some value at this number. All right, we move along. Baltimore and Texas. Corbin Burnes coming off his start in the All-Star game earlier this week for the American League. And Nate Eovaldi on the mound for Texas. Orioles -120 road favorites, 7.5 being the total in this game. You look at the matchup here, Burnes and Eovaldi. A lot of money's come in on Texas. I think part of it is Baltimore didn't play great going into the break, only 3-7. Maybe they're going to be in for a little downturn, and probably people thinking that Texas probably underachieved a little bit in the first half of the season and that they have a potential to make a run, maybe get back into the wild card, and if not the division race as well. And certainly if a run is going to start for Texas, it's going to have to start with a guy like Nate Eovaldi, we know is a capable pitcher. How will he fare here is the question. Corbin Burnes, he's been very solid this year for the Baltimore Orioles, very consistent, very steady, but we are talking about and he shut down the Texas Rangers completely June 27th. 1 run in 7 innings against Texas. So good track record, but he is coming off throwing that first inning of the All-Star game, on Tuesday night, starting for the American League. So I don't like that. And I get that sentiment, that situational factor that maybe the betting markets see, that they don't love backing Corbin Burnes when he had to pitch an inning Tuesday night in the All-Star game. And now he's got to pitch Friday, 2 days later, not on normal rest. Now, I know he only had to pitch 1 inning and only threw a handful of pitches. I get that. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. But these fucking pitchers, man, they're creatures of habit. They're used to their routine. They're used to starting every 5 days, pitching 5 or 6 or 7 innings, getting their 4 days off to replenish, get their arms ready for the next start. And all of a sudden, Corbin Burnes is out of whack a little bit here because he had to start the All-Star game, and pitch that first inning in the All-Star game. So that does worry me about whether he's going to be sharp and at his best here. But I still think there's great value now on Baltimore. I'm not betting it. I'm passing. But I just think if you're going to bet it now, considering Baltimore opened -160 in this game, it's all the way down to -120. You're probably looking at some value in the price now on Burnes and the Orioles. Although there is that sentiment too that, we're selling high on the team that had the great first half, like Baltimore, and we're buying low on the team that had the kind of a disappointing first half to the season, like Texas at 46-50. So it'll be interesting to see. And I didn't love Baltimore's form going into the break. So it's just a game I'm all over the place, as you can tell. I'm passing. I do think at this price, though, there's a little value on Baltimore. But Burnes pitching the All-Star game for 1 inning and then pitching tonight, it's not the greatest situation, at least in my opinion. All right, next up, White Sox and Royals, Chris Flexen and Michael Waka Flocka Flame on the mound for the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City -220. Home favorites, 9 the total. Don't really want to get involved here in this game. I certainly believe that Flexen could be hit here by the Royals, but I will say this about Flexen. He's pitched better the last 2 starts against Minnesota and Pittsburgh. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings in both starts. Can he turn a corner? And he hasn't pitched that bad against Kansas City. 4 runs in 11.2 innings against them. Waka's been very good, though, very consistent. 2 runs or less in 4 of his last 5 starts. He's completely shut down this Chicago team. He's given up just 2 runs over his last 20 innings pitched versus the Chicago White Sox. So Michael Waka has really shut this team down. Maybe you could go White Sox team total under tonight, possibly. Maybe I would lean that way, but obviously at -230, hard to find any sort of great value with Kansas City. So did not bet that game. Did not get involved with it. All right, we got 4 games left. on this Friday MLB slate. Next up, San Francisco Giants, Colorado Rockies. Kyle Harrison, the lefty for San Francisco. Cal Quantrill on the mound for Colorado. We've got the Giants minus 140, road favorites, 10-10.5 being the total here in this game. San Francisco going into the break, 5-5, 47-50. They're going to need to put a little bit of a run together here. Kyle Harrison on the mound. Looked like he was starting to struggle, but he really surprised me because Minnesota's been crushing left-handed pitching this year. And Kyle Harrison shut down that really strong hitting against lefties Minnesota Twins team. 1 run in 5.1 innings. So got to give Harrison credit. He pitched very well in that game. Can he continue that here against Colorado? He actually, on May 7th, here at Coors Field, he pitched a 7-inning shutout and only allowed 4 hits versus this Colorado Rockies team. So that tells me maybe San Francisco, you look in their side, you look at their direction here in this game tonight. Quantrill's been a little bit all over the map for the Rockies, and certainly early in the season, he really struggled for them, no doubt. But I will say this about Quantrill. His home numbers aren't that bad, 4 ERA. Unfortunately, before the break, he also had a start that was just absolutely a couple of starts that weren't the best. The last 3 going into the break, in fact, 5 runs allowed to the lowly White Sox, 5 runs allowed in just 2 innings to the Reds right before the break. So his form wasn't great. San Francisco could get the job done here. Like, we do see Harrison having a great start in this ballpark. And again, history in this ballpark probably matters more than it does in a lot of other ballparks. And that could bode well here tonight for Kyle Harrison in this start. So I would definitely at this price lean San Francisco. Not going to bet it, but I do lean in that direction now with the price and all the money that's come in earlier on the Rockies. All right, next up, it's the Angels and the Athletics. We don't know who's going to be on the mound for the Angels, and it will be J.P. Sears here for the Oakland Athletics. We've got the A's. How about the A's favored here? Minus 115, minus 120, 8 the total, pretty much across the board. J.P. Sears pitched pretty well last 2 games before the break. Shut out this Angels team in 5 innings on July 4th. And then he only gave up 1 run to a very good Boston team after that. So 2 back-to-back pretty good starts. I definitely lean Oakland, but, I just find with Oakland, I'd rather take them getting a plus price rather than lay a price with them. We are still talking about a 37-61 team, and they're favored. And say what you will, the Angels are terrible as well, but they actually have 4 more wins than the A's. Don't know who's going to start, but I certainly would lean a little bit to Sears and the Athletics here as home favorites in this game. 2.16 ERA for Sears in his last 3 starts. So, again, probably not going to get involved, but would definitely lean a little bit here toward Oakland in this game. All right, 2 games left. This is a big one here. Houston Astros, Seattle Mariners. These 2 teams separated by just 1 game. First place in the AL West on the line. Hunter Brown for the Astros, Luis Castillo for the Mariners. Pretty much even money here this game, 7 the total. I think Houston with Hunter Brown is the side for me. Hunter Brown's been excellent. Throw out the bad first month of the season. He's been a different pitcher ever since then. That 1 blow up against Minnesota, and really other than that, he's been absolutely dominant. Very good start against Houston in his last outing. Before the bad start against Minnesota, he had given up just 1 run in 18 innings. He has a pretty good track record this year against the Mariners. He's given up just 3 runs in 10.1 innings against the Seattle Mariners this year. So Hunter Brown, who's got great swing and miss ability, he's definitely bounced back. Luis Castillo for the Mariners. Actually, his numbers aren't bad either coming into this outing, but Houston has seen him quite a bit. Houston's lineup, certainly in the month leading into the All-Star break, was a lot better. There's no question. Seattle lost 3 of 4 to the LA Angels right before the break. That does concern me a little bit. Again, this is a huge, huge series. Houston's just 1 game back of Seattle for first in the AL West. And I think Houston sends a message tonight that it's our division still. And they've got the right guy on the mound because Hunter Brown's been just rolling for the better part of the last month or two. So I like Houston. I liked it better when it was plus 115, plus 110. A lot of money's come in on Houston, but I agree with that move. I think the Astros do get the job done here in the series opener, and a big weekend series it is between them and the Seattle Mariners. All right, the final game of this Friday night slate in the return to action in MLB after the All-Star break. Boston Red Sox, LA Dodgers. We've got Stone on the mound for the Dodgers, Nick Pivetta for the Boston Red Sox. The Dodgers minus 125 home favorites, 8.5 being the total here in this game. Look, Boston, one of these teams that going into the break, playing great. All of a sudden, here they are, 11 games above 500, very much in the wild card race, very much in the division race now, in the AL East as well. Now, the Yankees and the Orioles still have, a little bit of a cushion on Boston. Baltimore's 4.5 up on Boston. New York is 3.5 up on Boston, but Boston's there. Boston is right there with the Yankees and the Orioles, so a great finish to the first half. Here's one of these situations where, and sometimes out of the break, when a team's playing great going into the break, I worry that maybe they don't carry it over coming out of the break, and conversely, a team struggling going into the break, a lot of times they can use the break to get back on track. This could be an inside-out type of situation here. Yes, Boston was playing well going into the break, and yes, the Dodgers were struggling going into the break. Dodgers were 1-6 their last 7 games going into the All-Star break. They got swept by the Phillies. They lost 2 of 3 on the road at Detroit, so they didn't play great going into the break, but this kind of feels like a nice little buy low on the Dodgers. How often are we going to get the Dodgers as low as minus 125 this season? It's just not going to happen very often. And I can't, and Nick Pivetta in particular, okay, he's had some good moments at times this season here pitching for the Boston Red Sox, but I still think when you look at his overall track record, his overall numbers, not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination for Pivetta going into this start. 4.18 ERA overall. His road ERA has actually been good, and it's been at Fenway Park where he's been worse. This is a pretty good Dodgers lineup he's got to face, and at times he's been victimized of giving up, hard hit contact. So can he maneuver around that here tonight in this game against a power-laden lineup? That remains to be seen. Let's keep in mind that Pivetta has given up 5 home runs in his last 5 starts. Not exactly something you want to see. Meanwhile, I'll say this about Gavin Stone, 3.26 ERA overall, pretty solid. 3.67 ERA at home here at Dodger Stadium. 2.83 on the road, so not that huge home-road dichotomy or split by any stretch of the imagination. And like I said, I do like him a little bit more in this particular matchup than Nick Pivetta. So I think now that it's down to minus 125, minus 120, is even showing up here on the Dodgers. I think you're getting a nice little bargain on the Dodgers now. If you got Boston early, okay, they played great going into the break, but I do worry about the break disrupting that momentum a little bit. So, yeah, at the current price, I would look to the LA Dodgers here in this one tonight with the Red Sox and Dodgers. All right, that's the Friday MLB card. Like I said, Connor was unfortunately unable to join today. He was coming back from running some errands, going to the store. And you know what that can be like. Sometimes if it's busy and you got to wait in the cashier line forever, it's going to take you a while. But we will get Connor Mack back on the show next week for sure as we get back into the regular rhythm of the MLB card every day. And we'll also continue some football previews. And again, make sure that you check out in the comments section below this video. You will see all the links to all the discount Ian Cameron All Sports subscription offers that are currently available for the full card at Dub Club, which includes the 6 months All Sports discount, the 1 month All Sports discount, 3 months All Sports discount, and 1 year All Sports discount. The Dub Club subscription is my full card, every wager, every sport, every day. And then SoBet, which I just launched with earlier this week, that is where you get the top plays and the best bets specifically in every sport every day for just $9.95 per month. Again, the subscription links to all of those options are posted in the comments section below this YouTube video. All right, let's wrap it up. It is best bet time for this edition of Bet with Bobano. And for me, the best bet, we're going to Cincy and Washington. When I bet it and sent it out, it was 9. It's 9.5 now. The 9s are gone. I still think we hit 10 runs here. Corbin has not been good. Corbin, I think, gets hit here by the Reds. And Montas has been the better arm, and I like Cincy in the game from a money line standpoint, from a side's perspective, but I don't think Montas is getting through this game scot-free by any stretch of the imagination. I think the Nationals will contribute a little bit. And the Washington bullpen in particular was not pitching well going into the break, so we should see some runs late as well. So we'll go with Cincinnati, Washington, over 9.5 for my best bet here for this Friday edition of Bet with Bobano. All right, that is a wrap. We thank all of you for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for joining me, I should say. Hit the like button on the way out. And again, this show now, Monday to Friday. The live shows will, now the way we're doing it, as you can tell, some shows will be live at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. There will be days I'll have to pre-record the show early and then post it later. But regardless, there will be a Bet with Bobano show Monday to Friday moving forward. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night and great weekend. Enjoy the games and good luck. Bet like Tony Soprano. Bet with Bobano. And we'll see you again on Monday for another edition of Bet with Bobano.